Lycan Droids, Super Soldiers and the Freedom War by Robert D. Miles and Leslie S. Mitz. All rights reserved. Warning. Lycan droids are one of the most dangerous and terrifying beasts humankind ever encountered. With the superhuman strength, bloodlust, biologic adaptability, and intelligence capability to eliminate vast numbers of humans. It is a bipedal wolfen monster that can stand over 7 feet tall, walks and runs on its hind legs, and possesses the strength of 10 strong adult human males. It is a very real creature that everyone needs to be aware of. Your life may depend on it. Prologue. Skip's Daily Journal, February 10, 2017. I never considered myself a patriot, and although we often still refer to each other using that term, I shy away from considering that anything I did, or any chance that I took, was only for my country. What set me apart from so many who never survived was that, as a young boy, my father taught me the ways of my ancestors. How to walk silently through the woods, how to follow a game trail, how to skin an animal and tan a hide, how to hunt and even kill if I needed food, how to fish and even pan for gold in the quiet mountain streams. Now all of us, the survivors, are both the hunters and the hunted. Certainly that's the legacy we've left for our children and perhaps our grandchildren. Some say the Freedom War, as people have come to call it, may never end. Maybe that's a good thing. The New World Order, folks, grossly miscalculated the will and determination of the American people and the viral aspects of the Occupy protest movement. They underestimated our resolve, figuring they'd quickly kill off a few 100,000 of what they classified as the resistance, and then everyone else would just allow themselves to be rounded up and processed through the internment camps. Maybe their plan might have worked if it hadn't been for the anonymous hackers. Let me be plain. By 2013, individuals everywhere began uploading their vital information to what was called the cloud information storage servers. Within a couple of years after that, virtually everyone had stored all of their vital documents and data onto these megalithic servers that touted their invincibility to hackers, worms, and viruses. The unified, anonymous hackers didn't win the war, but they shifted the balance of power when they took out the satellites in the sky, the eyes of the powers that be, with the vendetta virus that within minutes also brought down the international central banking system, the stock markets, and all communications networks. Not just in America, but worldwide. Anyone who was online at that time lost their hard drives. Every workstation and laptop that was connected died an electronic death in a matter of seconds. The elite's Achilles heel was that they had overlooked the older generation of programmers who had written the original source code that remained in the software of every computer network in existence. Their JCLs, or Job Control Language, contained backdoors and erase commands they'd never found, regardless of the cabal's endless search for them. For someone somewhere, all it took was a few simple keystrokes to change the world. Now, the world's elites are holed up in their underground bunkers. Now they are the hunted. The foreign troops they had waiting in Mexico have scattered. Sure, some of them made it across the border into Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, and California, but they arrived only to face an armed populace who, in their wisdom, had been prepared for this for a decade. Those who were not killed were only too happy to trade their weapons of war for a drink of water and a hoe or other farming implement. For now, it's water, food, and sustenance, not allegiances, that are important. No, it is not our fellow humans we fear so much. It is the ones that were genetically bred by the secret military cabal as their ultimate weapon. Somehow, somewhere, they were released from a secret hiding place. We know not their numbers. We call them Lycan droids. Chapter 1. Report, February 11, 2017. Outpost 15, Northeast Arizona, 21:30 hours. I've just returned from our most recent sortie. No questions about it anymore. There are Lycan droids here. Found what appeared to be 3 human remains, very scattered, but all within what was, before the war, the most exclusive residential subdivision here in Sholo. Had to be careful taking pictures as they, or it, may be nearby. May God help us all. Message end. Buddy is curled up at my feet where I can feel the warmth of his body and he can feel mine. He's an oversized lab, and whatever else he is. Pedigree doesn't matter anymore, only the fact that he is a constant companion and has saved my life and the lives of some of my cadre. That really counts for a lot these days. Zella is waiting to send my report, the most out of our limited ComNet. To me, it now looks like a cobbled-together mishmash of my old laptops, shortwave hardware, batteries, and I roll back from my desk expecting to see her heading to where she has set up her workstation. Traffic today, she smiles. This is the high point of her day. I know that if I took the time, I could access her report on my laptop, but this has become an important ritual for both of us. I find a smile for her, wishing I had bothered to light the stove and use some of our stash of homegrown peppermint leaves to make some hot tea. Still nothing from your Lost Lake Cave group. I see the sorrow in her eyes as she knows how much I want to make contact with Tess in Chattanooga. I just nod, knowing how unlikely it is that we will ever be able to hear each other's voices again. Usually, I can force myself to remember how much of a better chance there is that she has made it through the bombings and roundup stage. I was supposed to join her in her group at the Lost Lake Cave, but everything came down so fast, I never made it. Someone named Hart is broadcasting. He's an old-time programmer in Montana. Says they're holed up in an abandoned Minuteman silo outside of Great Falls. She does not have to tell me that she has not replied or contacted him. Only 2 other groups know of any of our vital information. Great Falls is now a survival center, according to him. I'm afraid he might be military. Ben picked him up first and piped it on to us, she says, and her eyes hold mine. When I don't reply, she continues. Ben also said they were running out of fuel for their generator, and with their cloud cover being so dense, they're going to have to risk a trip out to scrounge some fuel. Fortunately for us, we still get a lot of sunshine for our solar array, and I was able to stash a couple 100 gallons of gasoline from an abandoned fuel tanker. Gas is the least of our worries now that we have the Lycan droids to come to grips with. That's all? I ask, knowing she always saves the best or worst till last. Frisky's back, she winks, and I breathe a sigh of relief, as Frisky is my cat from before the Freedom War. Zell adopted him as her own after he began licking her face every morning instead of trying to roust me. I found Zella a few months ago starving in the woods in back of my house. Usually I don't bring in outsiders, but something about her reminded me of my daughter. I can't tell you how hard it was for me to head up the group that blew the bridges over the canyons between here and Phoenix using DuPont explosives, and my son and his extended family might make it up here before we blasted it. Now we're sealed in here in the White Mountains, safe for the most part from the hordes of humanity trying to escape from the disease and starvation running rampant just a few 100 miles below us in the greater Phoenix Valley. Even now, it is hard to live with myself, and yes, I helped to destroy the runways of all 3 local airports so no one can land even a small plane at Sholo and Taylor. Now the Patriot Council has the job of patrolling and making sure we are left alone to make the best of our chances to survive. Skip, Zella says, I'm drawn back to the present, back from the dreamlike images of the past that always seem to haunt me. Tell me about the Lycan droids. Chapter 2. Where do I begin? I close my eyes again, slipping back into the labyrinth of my mind. How do you explain the mechanisms of war to a person who has never wanted to kill? Someone who, until only a year and a half ago, never knew what evil lurked in the minds of the elite who had their plans for depopulation and a return to a worldwide feudal system, A new world order where they would reign like kings and queens over dumbed down, enslaved remainder of humanity. Do I tell Zella about MK Ultra and HARP, or should I begin with fluoride in the drinking water and the toothpaste? Maybe I should try to explain the logic behind chemtrails, or how the banksters finance both sides of every war while sending the very best of our young people off to die in foreign lands. Or should I tell her how they took away our freedoms, one after another, while we scrambled to just make a living and try to send our kids out to college and try to keep them off drugs that were being imported by our own governmental secret agencies? Or do I tell her about Solar Warden and the web of lies that have been woven into the real history of what's been going on here on planet Earth for thousands of years? I wonder, does she know about the ETs and the secret agreements which allowed abductions of humans in exchange for off-world technology? The sounds of Zed stoking the potbelly stove and putting on the teapot brings me back to the now. Buddy, our big old lovable dog, has moved to a spot near the stove, hoping for some scrap of late-night food. His eyes find mine as if in assurance that he has not deserted me. Buzz is standing next to her, still wearing his leather greatcoat and backpack. Zell leans back against him, and his arms encircle her for a brief moment. Then she moves to the cupboard, brings out the jar of peppermint leaves that we now use for tea. He is 10 years older than she is, tall and lean, the son of a local rancher who, after a tour in the military, came back home and took a position with the local police. I know he's wearing his Kevlar vest and has a Glock and a K-bar knife on a belt concealed under the coat. It was his tutelage, along with Zell's computer knowledge, that were the links between my assortment of radio gear and outdated shortwave radio that gave birth to our now functioning pipecom system. Why not tell her about the Archuleta Mesa Underground Lab near Dulce, he asks. She needs to know what we're up against. He's right. It's way past the time that anything should be kept secret. If I leave something out, you can probably find more about it over there, I say, pointing to the overflowing bookshelves that line the far wall. Before the war, I made some documentary films. Mostly they were based on my own experiences and those of other people who had some kind of paranormal contact. Some were what we called abductees. Others what we came to be known as experiencers. Hard to say how much of their stories were true, but certainly some of them were. I gesture to Buzz to pull up a chair, which he does gladly, as Zell gets out 3 cups and places them on the desk next to us. Buzz has brought me back up to speed about some of the UFO stuff, she says, as she sits down, waiting for the tea leaves to come to a boil. I always thought they were real, and I used to scour the web looking at sighting reports and getting into some of the chat rooms where people were telling about their contacts with angels. We're not talking about angels here, says Buzz. More like man-made demons and werewolves. Zell looks at him first thinking maybe he's joking, but his face is now serious. Zell has not looked at my report, but still remained on the thumb drive, so she has not seen my message about today's victims. He looks at me, figuring I already told her about what we'd found. Sorry, Skip. Thought she knew. The whistle of the teapot brings Zell to her feet, and I get up also. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I go find one. It's not easy, as I have absolutely no organization in my books and DVDs. The tea is poured before I find the book I'm looking for. Over the last 2 centuries, there have been all kinds of drawings and stone carvings, but no photographs of the creature I'm looking for. Most people who say they have seen something that resembles the lycandroid beast have been labeled as kooks or even insane. My close friend Jay, who lives just a few miles from here on the Navajo reservation, has told me of his people's experiences with what they call the dogmen. He has shown me some drawings of what he has come to believe are a hybrid species bred and refined by the military. Through his research, he has come to the conclusion that whatever they are not skinwalkers or Sasquatch. Imagine a half-man, half-wolf that stands about 8 feet tall and can run or walk on 2 legs and all 4s, able to run and kill faster and easier than any wild thing known to man. I don't personally believe that they can shapeshift, but who knows for sure. Up till lately, I always considered they might be interdimensionals, usually associated with UFO sightings. Carefully, I turned the pages looking for what can only be described as one of the most deadly and vicious of all God's or man's creations. Oversized canine-like teeth protruding from a ravenous mouth, red eyes that even in a drawing seem to seek you out, and rip-corded muscular bodies covered with dense, shaggy hair. I slide the book around so Zell can see it. Buzz looks at the drawing also. For years I've heard rumors about hybrid experiments at a secret underground military lab near Dulce, New Mexico, I say. If they are true, something like that may have been what started with, so no telling what the ones that either escaped or were released may actually look like now. I see her actually shudder as she first looks at the image, then steel herself as she turns to look at Buzz, perhaps for confirmation or maybe just for some sign that this could be not true. His eyes hold only the look of sadness. Tomorrow I want to learn to shoot that military rifle, the AR-15, she declares, full automatic. She closes the book and calmly takes a sip of her tea.